All right. We're good. We're going. We're live. Week 4, we're doing the Japan review and the Bahrain preview. I feel like I might have mixed that up in like the description on Twitch. I might have said no. I said China preview. That's not correct. It's Bahrain. I'm a mess. I'm a little sleepy. All right, we're good now. All right. So the Japan preview. Look, it was a really boring race. Not a lot happened. And the big reason for that is because the tires are too, they last too long, and so no one can pass each other because there's no like difference in tire life. Like the soft tire and the hard tire are like the same almost. So there's not a ton of difference in tire speed or tire life, and it's making passing difficult on tracks where passing was already difficult. Suzuka, all the drivers love it, but they also all admit that there's a lot of that it's harder to overtake. Um, and so there wasn't a ton that went on, but the finishing order was Verstappen, Norris, Piastri. That was the podium. Leclerc, Russell, Antonelli, Hamilton, Hadjar, Albon. What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and Behrman. That rounds out the points. And then Alonso, Tsunoda, Gasly for Alpine, Sainz, Doohan, Hulkenberg, Lawson, Ocon, Bortoletto, and Stroll, who had a terrible race. Um, I
Shout out to
have,
your Stroll prediction, by the way. That Stroll was gonna make a comeback this race
yeah,
and be
proved me wrong. Proved all the haters right. Uh, Max Verstappen, obviously. Um, he had an amazing pole position. I mean, his pole position was the course record. He broke the track record for the fastest lap at the track, deserved the pole, and controlled the race from there. But yeah, no one could pass each other because Pirelli somehow designed a tire that falls apart after one qualifying lap, but can last an entire race at the same time. I don't know how that makes sense. It doesn't. Japan the race was a little cooler. It had rained right before the race. That could have factored into it, but it not as much. So there's this Pirelli tire cycle that's been memeing around, and it's Pirelli, the tires are too soft, and the gap to from the qualifying lap to the race lap is like 8 seconds, and it's a mess. And so the drivers complain, and so Pirelli makes harder tires. And then the drivers complain again because no one can pass each other, and then it just repeats. Um, Good day, bad day. Max Verstappen and Kimi Antonelli. We'll get into why a little later for Kimi. It's a lot of records he broke that I don't know off the top of my head. And then bad day, McLaren and Alex Albon. For Max, he has now never been defeated around Suzuka in the 2020s. He's won 4 in a row. There was no race in 2020 or 2021 due to COVID. Japan had pretty strong COVID restrictions, so did China. Um, but it's a strong exclamation point on what has been a very successful partnership between Red Bull and Honda. Uh, Honda's going over to Aston Martin next year, so Red Bull's last race with Honda in Japan, and they won with the special livery. It was good. It was a good win, and he deserved it for sure. He covered off both McLarens on the first lap, and then again during the pit stop phase, which we'll get into. If you saw any highlights, if you saw anything about the race, you know the pit stop drama. He owned the whole race, and he is now the 4th driver in F1 history to win in 10 consecutive seasons. Michael Schumacher and Lewis Hamilton have won in 15 consecutive seasons, which shows you how great they were, and Hamilton still is. And Alain Prost has 10. So if Max Verstappen wins next year, he'll be 3rd instead of tied for 2nd. Or I
Do you
guess he'd
know
be
if
2nd instead of tied for 3rd.
Hamilton's record is still continuing?
It is continuing. So he's on season 16. I don't know. I don't know if that 15 counts the sprint race. I doubt it.
Yeah, I don't. So far, it's not looking too good in the races for him to win
Uh,
a race this year.
People
But
said
who
that last
knows?
year, and he won in Silverstone. So you can never count out him in certain. But I mean, Ferrari's a mess. Everyone kind
Sure.
of knew it.
You got two
Uh,
competing factors. You have Lewis Hamilton, can never count him out, but you also have Ferrari, can never count them out either.
yeah, but for the wrong reasons.
Yes, you can never count them out to mess up something good.
Exactly. Um, but yeah, this race was all about Verstappen. Like I said, his qualifying lap was electric. Um, And Tsunoda, he finished in 12th. He did really good in Q1, couldn't find that pace again in Q2, qualified 14th, finished 12th. Like I said, no one could pass each other. If people could pass each other, he probably would have finished higher, but no one could do it. Um, but one thing that was really funny was that the Red Bull technicians and the engineers were like, we were getting live feedback from Yuki about how the car is behaving and about all this technical feedback, and we've never really had that before. Which is really funny to me. So I
That's
think it's a good sign
that's
for Yuki.
strange.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah,
Perez and Lawson probably didn't know enough to be fair, and Perez I guess just didn't. I don't know. That's what they said. Maybe they're lying and they just hate Checo, but that's what they were saying.
you get on saying stuff and it's like, what? What are you saying? I don't give a shit.
Yeah,
I don't care.
Checo's busy trying to get back into the sport with Cadillac, and allegedly some other teams he's talking to, but I think Cadillac is a likely bet. Um, McLaren, second and third, ruin their chances at a race win. So here's what happens. They start second and third. And so normally when this happens, if you have a driver in second and third and your rival has a driver in first and then another one far back, the general strategy is you pit three to undercut one. So you pit three before one, hope that as one comes into pit, you can get ahead of him while one is in the pit. So when one pits to cover it off, you keep two out there longer to create a larger gap and a difference in tire life. And this puts a lot of pressure on one to not only catch up to two, but hold off three. And it gives three the advantage in the short term because they'll have fresher tires, but then two will have the advantage at the end of the race because they'll have fresher tires then from a later stop. And this was beat to death over the broadcast and after. McLaren did not do this. Piastri pitted, who was three, pitted to undercut Verstappen, who was in first. And when Verstappen pitted, Norris, instead of staying out, pitted the same lap. And then he tried to overtake him in the pit lane or the pit exit, which was a really weird decision. He ended up going on the grass. He didn't crash. Um, and he recognized it was a stupid idea. He made fun of himself for it, like in good spirits, not in like getting down on himself. But like he was like, yeah. They asked Max and Lando about it after the race, and Max was like, I saw that me and Lando both saw that the grass wasn't cut as well over there, so Lando decided to go fix that.
I
um,
mean, to be fair, it was like his only chance to pass. So
exactly.
try to take
So
it.
the big thing is, should he have even been in that position in the first place? Probably not. But here's my personal opinion on it. I talked to Nate about this a lot. I think McLaren's we have two number one drivers mentality ruined the race for them because they didn't want to split the pit. In my opinion, they didn't want to split the pit stops because they didn't want to give Piastri that advantage early on in order to keep both drivers equal and truly have two number one drivers. Then this came into play later because McLaren at the end of the race, Norris couldn't catch Verstappen, and Piastri was behind Norris, going, "Yo, I'm faster. I can catch Verstappen. Let me have a go at it." Um, and the team, and he was like, "Yo, tell Norris to let me go. I'll get." And then normally, this has happened many times in F1. If you let your teammate pass and they can't catch that person in front of you guys, you swap back. And there was no danger of like them losing positions from swapping and swapping back. Um, so I think their two number one driver mentality really screwed them here. Um, and I think there is still some Norris favoritism, which is fair. He's been on the team longer, whatever. But yeah, so Piastri was like, he has the pace. So I got it. Let me try and pass. And the team didn't let him do it. And I didn't find out till a little later, a few days later. The team didn't even tell Norris that Piastri was saying that on the radio. They just kept that information from Lando the entire race. Um, um, but I think in this scenario, you gotta let Piastri try. Even if no one can pass anyone, at least let him try. And especially if you've got two number one drivers, that means you are confident in Piastri's ability to race and to win. So I think you gotta let him try. But McLaren was unwilling to do that, and we've seen this before. Um, with McLaren's strategy, they have the car to win races, they have the drivers to win races, and they can win races. But I think they don't know how to win races, if that makes sense. Like they got to do it. They have these. They can win races, and they do win races. They just don't know how to win races unless they're starting at the front.
And it just reeks of like internal politics. They don't really know what direction they want to go in. They just want to keep both drivers happy, but in
Right.
doing so, they're kind of
They're
screwing them
pissing them
both
both
over.
off. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, it's early on in the season. We have two guys who could be number one, and you literally can't tell the difference right now.
Yeah.
So just go, and hopefully one of you crashes, and you can just make an easy decision.
Yeah. I I think that when you have time, you should watch the race highlights from Hungary of last year, in which McLaren held hostage negotiations on the radio.
Yeah.
And you think that I'm joking? I'm not.
I believe it. I believe it. I think we could have gotten that to this point
It
in this
was
race too.
so,
There's nothing else to do but be on the radio complaining.
yeah, basically in Hungary, Piastri had pole position. They pitted Norris before Piastri. Normally, when you have to, you give the driver who's ahead, you give the driver who's ahead the better pit strategy. But they gave it to Norris. Then Norris is in first, and they're like, "Hey, man, give the place back to Oscar. You shouldn't have passed him like that. Blah blah blah." And Norris is ignoring him, and he's building a gap. And he's like, "Tell Oscar to catch me." And they're like, "Hey, man, please just give the place back." At a point, they were like, you can't win a world championship alone. You need your teammates to do it. Imagine Andrea Stella, who is the team principal, on your shoulder telling you to do the right thing. It's just like, and also Stella was there. He could have hopped on the radio at any time, but he didn't. So it was a total mess. It's really bizarre. Um, and you should watch the highlights for it because it's really funny.
Well, that explains a lot what probably happened in this race. Like, we don't want Hungary again, where it's not even ask Lando,
I can see
you
that.
know, just avoid it at all costs. Just finish the race second and third will be fine. Max
Yeah,
Verstappen doesn't have a teammate who's getting points yet, so we're chilling.
yeah. I think that that is also part of it. On the final lap, Norris ended up cutting the final chicane. And right after Piastri went on the radio and he said cheeky, and that's all he said. So not probably the way he wanted to spend his birthday. Because it was his birthday. So happy birthday, Oscar Piastri. We love you still, even if McLaren strategy doesn't.
Your birthday present is third. No more, no less.
A bronze medal. You could have had a silver or maybe even a gold, but nope. So yeah, strategy for McLaren was a mess, and strategy this race was really bizarre. Oh, my McAfee expired. It expired 3 years ago, but whatever. Um, so there was no safety car for the first time in a Grand Prix this year. Every car finished the race. And no safety car really hindered Ferrari's strategy. Hamilton said that they were banking on a safety car. He was like, our strategy relied on a safety car, and that really no safety car really screwed with us. Well, also apparently the Ferrari had rear tire and rear end issues. And it prevented them from having a stellar race. So they didn't have any certified Ferrari moments. They finished fourth and seventh in a quiet race. From everyone except for Verstappen and the McLarens. So no certified Ferrari moments. Ferrari finished, no disqualifications. They had some issues, but it wasn't crazy. Banking on the safety car is a little psycho, in my opinion, but it's Ferrari. They can't do everything perfect. Um, so Leclerc was fourth, and Hamilton was in seventh. And then Hamilton's replacement, Antonelli, became the youngest driver ever to lead a race, the youngest driver to have a fastest lap, and the first driver to score in his first three races since Hamilton in 2007. And we all see what happened with that Lewis Hamilton guy. He ended up being pretty damn good. So Mercedes' gamble on him so far is paying off. We'll see if it sticks like that, but I think if you're a Mercedes fan, you're hopeful and you're loving this Antonelli guy. And he's also still going to school. Did you hear about this?
I did not. He's well, how old is he? Like 20?
Oh, he's 18. He just turned
18?
18.
Oh my gosh.
He's still going to public school, man. He's senior year of high school. His parents are still making him go. Can you imagine being a teacher and one of your students is making like 10 times more money than you?
I mean, yes, that seems pretty doable, but I think he's making more like 1,000 times more money than that.
Yeah, someone did the math. I don't have it on me, but someone did do the math. Um, that's just so Like imagine Mercedes, like let's say Mercedes wins a race and everyone's partying and Antonelli's like, I gotta go to school on Monday, man.
I got a project, and if you're the teacher, you're just trying to make everything relate to F1 in some way. You're doing the reading is like, and Odysseus, he sailed the ocean like a Mercedes. What? Oh, well, this is a different translation. Yeah, we made a new one just for you, Kimmy. So you stay in school.
Yeah, there's all these video. There's this video of Mercedes put of him doing his goddamn homework before the race.
Guys, that's what's so fast, guys. I gotta finish. I've been procrastinating my essay all week. I gotta do it. It's due on
I,
Monday.
I gotta finish this race and go right to work, man. Oh, it's so good. So yes, but he's been having an amazing start. So good for him. Um, Tsunoda had a mega Q1, like I said, couldn't replicate. No one able to pass. All he could do was kind of bring the car home in 12th. Like I said, he was giving a lot of good feedback. It was an educational race experience, and he seemed in really high spirits after the race. He seemed really happy, even though it wasn't probably the finish he was looking for. Um, for the other rookies, not just Antonelli, Hadjar scored his first. I'm sorry, that says scored his first race. That should say scored his first points. He saw an amazing qualifying. He had a seatbelt issue that caused him immense pain. We found out that it was crushing his balls. The seatbelt was crushing his balls all qualifying, but he roughed it out. And then in the race, he gets on the radio and goes, "Hey, and this is a direct quote, unlocked a new issue with the car. His seat was loose all race, but he earned those points, man. He powered through. Good for Hadjar. Had some ball pain. His seat was loose, but he somehow he got the points, man. He finished 8th.
And
Oh,
was that adrenaline going? Maybe that was his problem before. That he just wasn't really feeling it, but having your balls crushed really gives you a sense of urgency.
yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
Just like Kim,
They
when you get home for homework, Isaac has to get out of that fucking car as soon as possible.
they showed like his engineer like trying to adjust the seatbelt, and the kid just looked in like he was in so much pain. He was like really, really wincing. I was like, and so they try and fix it between Q1 and 2, and he gets out on the track for Q2, and he goes on the radio, he goes, I can't believe it, man. It still hurts.
Oh,
Poor kid.
Isaac, no.
Oh, hey man, he powered through. Um, Behrman had a really good weekend. He outdrove Ocon and had a really strong hand on the Haas, which was not easy to drive all week. And Bortoletto had an uneventful race in the Alfa Sauber. That's all you can ask for in the Sauber. And Doohan had a huge crash in practice too. I mean, it was massive. It looked really intense. Um, and when he was getting out of the car after the race, he seemed like he was injured and he was having a hard time getting out of the car. Ocon and one of the Doohan's engineers actually had to help him out of the car. But there's all these rumors that Colapinto is going to replace Doohan after 5 or 6 races. So he can't really afford to miss a race or anything. He can't even afford to miss a practice session because Briatore is probably just waiting for an excuse. So he's got the threat of Cole Pinto looming over him, and Alpine has really notorious bad driver management skills. I don't know if you knew this. Oscar Piastri was an Alpine Academy driver, and he was supposed to drive for Alpine, and Alpine was like, "Hey, he's driving for us." Because Ricardo had just, I'm not sorry, Alonso just randomly left the team for Aston Martin, and they're like, "All right, we're bringing up Piastri," and Piastri had to like make a tweet at like 2 a.m. Australia time. He was asleep. He was like, "Hey, this isn't true. I'm not racing for Alpine next year." And then he signed for McLaren. And it was a whole mess.
And now we were here. We have Jack Doohan, and yeah, I don't think he's gonna be here for much longer.
He's got 2
I
more race
mean,
weekends, and his contract is up, or 2 or 3. I don't know. I've seen 5 and 6. And he's unlucky that this contract coincides with the end of this kind of triple header of races.
especially
So,
with a lot of the other rookies doing quite well,
hmm
it's not a good look to be having as many mistakes as he's had. Like Isaac had his downfall, his bad moments in week 1, but he's recovered pretty well.
hmm
Liam Lawson, he already got demoted, so we don't have to worry about him. And
also
then you
not a
have,
rookie. He's like Schrodinger's rookie. He is and he isn't.
yeah, and then you have Behrman and Antonelli who are just killing it. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, Doohan down there doing absolutely nothing.
Right.
And the
And
team really needs it.
yeah, and everyone from Bortoleto was just like the car sucks. So
Yes. The Alpine should not be behind the Sauber still, and they still are. They still have 0 points.
oh, poor Alfie, man.
Even if Jack Doohan, I mean, that's the one saving grace he has is that Gasly hasn't scored yet. So
Hmm.
you could make the arguments the car or, whatever, something's happening if Gasly can't score.
Right.
But you can also make the argument that they need someone in there who can score points because 0 points this far in is pretty bad.
Yeah. Especially when or when Sauber already has points. They have more points than they had all last year. Anyway, this next race is in Bahrain, which is where preseason testing was. So hopefully he'll be a little more comfortable. But the race after is Saudi Arabia. It's a street circuit. It's unforgiving. It's super fast. It's super dangerous. They don't race there for F2. It's gonna be rough on all the rookies, but that's a next week issue. To wrap it up for the race review, Williams had their first poor showing this year. Sainz is still adjusting to the car. To be fair, like Hamilton is now, Hamilton is finishing higher because the Ferrari is faster. And Albon was furious on the team about the strategy, about the car balance, about the tires. He was pissed. He was like yelling at him. He was so angry, like genuine rage. And they asked him about it after the race, and like the color drained from his face. He was like, "Oh shit, you could hear that." um, he was so. I've never heard him that pissed before. Usually he's pretty calm and collected, but I mean, he was really, really angry. Um, so they need to cover. Williams is gonna have to get their shit together. And then Stroll, like you mentioned, proved me wrong. He did not beat the washed allegations this week. Dead
Yeah, very
last.
watched. Very watched all in the back. He didn't even where didn't qualify. He
Dead
drops
last.
spots.
Dead last. He
He
qualified
qualified that
last.
last time?
Yeah, and he was like way behind everyone. I don't. He was
Oh
having a rough
no.
time. Yeah. So
Well,
that's maybe there'll be redemption.
yeah.
My certified Ferrari moment. We all saw it coming. The McLaren strategy team. Congratulations, McLaren's first. McLaren is the first non-Ferrari team to get the certified Ferrari moment,
There's almost no point in time during this race where you can make a strategic decision. It's only one
and they
pit.
somehow messed it up.
And that's what the one decision you had to make. Start the race, when do you want to pit? That's the only decision, and then mess it up.
Yep, and then they had a chance at redemption with Oscar being faster, and then they still messed it up.
Yeah, they had a chance at least like, hey, look, we tried. No, they shouldn't try. Whatever. We
And then
can't do it. Hey
uh,
guys, it's third down. What are we gonna do? We're gonna punt. What? Yeah, we can give up. Okay.
we're kicking a field goal from our own 30. And we have Billy Cundiff. The runner-up is Carlos Sainz. He missed the national anthem because he had the shit. He had bad diarrhea, and he got fined 20,000 euros for it.
That's an expensive shit.
The fine like that detailed it was like, we are aware that he had a stomach illness that caused him discomfort and pain, but we're still fining him. Everyone's like, damn, here's airing this man's literal shit out here for everyone to hear.
Yeah, no. He should have just next time he knows what to do. You just have to stay out there.
You shit your pants.
You gotta drop the trousers. Just
But
run
Williams
through.
Williams has white race suits, don't they?
Uh, wait, let me see. I have the thing up.
All
Yeah,
right,
they do.
they've usually have white.
Bright white race suits. I was
Yeah.
wondering if they get some sort of protest, but no, it's just that he didn't get fined.
So yes, poor Carlos, 20,000. That's an expensive shit. 20,000 bucks. Usually, however, with fines, the team pays it.
I was sure for
So
that one specifically.
yeah, it won't be coming out of his pocket. So pick the podium, the head and the heart. Picking with your heart. Me picking Sonoda in second, Sam picking Antonelli in third, and all of your picks, Dave, have proven less effective than picking with your head. Unless you're Nate, whose head and heart are in the same place. So
Oh no! Yeah, I scored 1 point. This was my best week to score a point because I always had Albon in there, and he's got a chance
yeah.
compared to my normal picks. Did not happen.
Next, maybe
And
this week. Maybe this week. It's going to be
then,
crazy when you get points. By the way.
yeah, I know. I'm waiting for it. I haven't really decided yet on who I'm going to pick, but we'll get there.
Okay. Well, I have everyone's picks and I have my own picks, so you'll have time to think about it.
All right, all right.
All right. Bahrain preview. Qualifying is Saturday at noon and race is Sunday at 11 a.m. We're back to reasonable race times for the East Coast of America. Let's go. Usually it's like 8 a.m., 9 a.m., especially for a lot of the European races. The Middle Eastern ones are kind of in this weird afternoon time slot. Um, so I think because there's the Singapore race, which is usually at like 3 a.m., but it's earlier this year. So I think the only race now that's going to be late is Brazil, which will be at like 3 or 4, Austin, which will be at like 3 or 4, but we'll be there. And then Vegas, which is a Saturday night race at like 11 p.m. So uh so we should be back on like reasonable if you're used to F1 and used to all the races being like Sunday mornings. So Bahrain, like I've mentioned, is kind of where the preseason, not kind of, it is where the preseason testing took place. So everyone has a ton of laps here under their belts. The teams kind of probably already know to expect from the track, from the car, from the tires. More or less, I don't know how predictable the tires are at this point. But everyone's used to the place. F1 and F2 both race here. They did testing here. Everyone's got a lot of experience here, even though testing this year was a little weird. So all of the rookies have experience here, so they should have a good amount of confidence and comfort going into the race weekend. On pure familiarity terms. That being said, the Haas and the Sauber were god awful in testing, though. So Behrman and Bortoleto might have some reservations, even though Behrman absolutely should have confidence going into this one because he's been lighting it up in the Haas, getting into the points. Obviously, he's not like getting podiums, but no one's expecting the Haas to get podiums. So, no one was expecting the Haas to get points. So, and then Doohan is just in hell. That's what I have written here. Doohan is just in hell in the Alpine. He's had a horrible time. He's got so much pressure, so many rumors about replacing him. Now that he might have an injury, it's not a heartwarming story going in to the race weekend for Doohan. And then obviously Antonelli's looking for his 4th points finish in a row, and Hadjar will be looking for his 2nd points finish. B carb strategy, be damned.
I, I do have a quick rookie question for you.
Yeah.
Is what Behrman is doing in Haas more impressive than Kimi Antonelli and all of his records?
No, and not just because it's records, but because Kimi's expectations. Behrman is beating his expectations, but Kimi's also beating his expectations, and the fact that he's performing so well as a rookie in that Mercedes, which last year was not very good. Like they won, but ever since 2021, the Mercedes has been really rough. Um, and I think Antonelli is blowing his expectations out of the water more than Behrman is. I mean, people were probably predicting growing pains for Antonelli. People weren't expecting him to finish as high and as consistently as he's been doing. But the Haas is also really difficult to drive. I think they're kind of close, but I do think Antonelli is um I think he's overperforming a little more just because it's the Mercedes. The expectations are going to be really high. It's one of the front runner cars. Like everyone expected him to be in the points. I don't know if they expected him to do this well and to handle it this well. Like he's handling the pressure really well. He's been very calm about it. If you hear him on the radio, he does sound like he's like stressed and being chased by a serial killer for his life. But I think that's just the Italian accent.
He's in his natural habitat.
Yeah.
Uh,
So
but yeah, I think
he
they're both of them are doing very well. So we'll see how it goes.
I totally agree.
And on
Um,
the other side, Doohan and Liam Lawson are kind of the other edge of that. Although I think
mhm,
Lawson right now is feeling worse just because he's already been basically demoted,
yeah.
and he didn't do well last race.
No, he
But
didn't.
that could
Actually,
definitely change this race.
Yuki passed Lawson in one of the few overtakes during the race.
He did. He did.
So
Lawson's like, oh, I got something. I out qualified. No, it was just a setup. Just a
yeah.
setup. You got tricked again.
So and Lawson hasn't really helped himself with his attitude, at least going into Red Bull. So Speaking of Lawson, I have on the other side of the view curve garage, Lawson will really want to show what he can do, as Suzuka didn't provide him or anyone with the opportunity. There should be more overtakes here. There's more places on track to overtake. There's more straights. There's more braking zones for overtaking. So we'll see. And all eyes on Antonelli and Behrman in the rookie watch to see what they can do. Mercedes has said that Antonelli's the next Max Verstappen, and I think at this point, uh, I don't know how on par he is. I'm not as familiar with Max's like full performances in the Toro Rosso, but Max's first or second race in a top team he did win, but that was his second year in F1, so we'll be able to compare more Antonelli to Verstappen next year. But people are already comparing him to Hamilton, and if you're being compared to Lewis Hamilton, that's pretty good. It's going to be hard to complain about being compared to Lewis Hamilton.
Well, that is if you can handle the pressure.
That's true, and we'll see. I mean, Behrman is probably going to go to Ferrari later in his career because he's a Ferrari Academy driver. Haas just gets their engine from Ferrari, which is why he's there. Yeah, and oh no is right.
Oh no!
Where
Was Oliver
drivers can
Behrman the
die.
next Lewis Hamilton? Except, well, going to Ferrari, and well, we'll see how Lewis does in Ferrari. But
Yeah, I'll give it a year. Give it a year. We'll see. Um, But yeah, I think they're both doing really well. Tsunoda is still going to be learning the quirks of the Red Bull, but he's already shown some glimmers of speed and some glimmers of hope if he handles it. He can get a handle on it, and during practice and qualifying, I think points are it's definitely on the table, especially because Red Bull has a way better strategy than their sister team. So I think if Yuki qualifies well, he's going to finish well. And I think if he qualifies poorly, I think he still can finish in the points. It's just a matter of how quickly can he get a handle on the car. He did better than Lawson did in Lawson's first race. We'll see how Yuki stacks up in his second, and we'll see how Lawson stacks up in his second for the V carb. So the comparisons between the two will never end. Hadjar is going to be thrown in there. Verstappen's going to be kind of not really compared to any of them, but
Verstappen's the whole team. Everyone else is just the backup.
yeah,
They're supposed to be there to help them score some points. That has not gone very well.
no, it has not.
Red Bull Racing, I'm pretty sure all the points are just Max, right? I don't think any other
Correct.
drivers get a point for them. Yeah. Okay.
So, and they're third in the constructors.
They are. They're third by quite a big margin. They're fighting with Mercedes right now. Red Bull's at 61, Mercedes at 75. Ferrari's in fourth with 35.
Yeah, I knew there was a decent gap between 3 and 4.
So Max is almost doubling Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc.
Well, that was
scores
all.
combined.
That was his life last year too, so he's used to it. To bring up the McLaren strategy, in McLaren's defense, if there is ever a driver at a team that's used to having one driver at the front and one at the back and being chased by two drivers from a different team, it is Verstappen and Red Bull. So hopefully
Yeah.
Yuki gets back in there, and he'll be putting some pressure on the McLarens because I know he can do it.
He is the savior. Yeah, that thumbnail drill, that's him. It's not much, but it's honest. It's honest work. Looking at it in more of a season, there's some tension, even though McLaren is pretty far ahead right now. It's still early, but at least there's some drama happening with the drivers' championship. Some internal politics to talk about.
We'll talk about McLaren's advantage in a minute. Let me get through a little bit more, and then we'll bring it right back up. McLaren crushed it here in testing. They were the fastest on race pace by a good bit, and so they're going to want to get a 1-2 here. Wash away the taste of Suzuka. Everyone can be happy. They need to qualify 1-2 to prevent their own strategy from ruining their race. And they also need to get a handle on this two number one drivers thing. It's not working, and it doesn't really work in general. And look at I take Brosades is the name for the Mercedes team in 2016. It was Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton. They fought on and off track all the time, but they got away with it because the Mercedes was miles ahead of everybody, so they could duke it out, and no one could catch them anyway. So it didn't really matter. Rosberg ended up taking the title that year. But he's the only driver to ever beat Lewis Hamilton in equal machinery.
Best driver of all time.
Uh,
Who's right there?
so Leclerc might be the second, but Uh, like Hamilton and Rosberg fought so much. That total was like, if you guys crash into each other one more time, you're both fired. I don't care. So obviously McLaren's drivers aren't antagonistic towards each other, but this two number one drivers thing, it hasn't historically worked, and I don't think it's going to keep working. It's McLaren's championship. Who lose? Which they could lose their big advantage right now is their flexi wing. Their rear wing flexes a lot during the race. It gives them more speed. It's not the mini DRS thing that they have, or had. But after Spain, which is week 9, the FIA is like putting an end to all flexi wings. So McLaren's advantage will probably fade due to those stricter rules. And Red Bull is betting on that. With Max Verstappen coming off of a mega weekend in Suzuka, now he's like, if I qualify well, I can control the race. If I qualify first, McLaren can't pass me. But I wouldn't bet on Red Bull making sure that their car is a better setup for qualifying compared to the race. They're going to want a better race car every time, unlike VCarb, which has a better qualifying car, and Williams, which has a better qualifying car than a race car. So I wouldn't bet on them changing their car like that. Also, I don't think they can change their car like that, like in a week. Um, but yeah, Red Bull is like they're betting that after Spain, I think actually starting in Spain, um, McLaren's advantage is going to start fading away. And we saw this last year. Red Bull controlled the first half of the year in 2024, and then McLaren caught up and they won the constructors. So McLaren over anyone should understand that no lead is safe until you've mathematically won. So
And will it be Red Bull coming up from behind? I mean, you need Yuki to score some points, or is it going to be Mercedes taking an advantage
or
of
Ferrari
that we
getting
can
their shit
change?
together.
I'm sure I'm feeling Ferrari. Mercedes is a lot closer, I think. Ferrari's going to add the flex ceiling after week 9 and get disqualified again. That's
Yeah,
my
they're
prediction.
gonna put the flexi wing on.
Wait, guys, we're banning this?
Oh,
Let's put it right on there.
mamma mia!
Mamma mia. Judging
So
cheese again.
speaking of Ferrari needs to get it together. It's not the end of the world from them right now, and anyone can make a comeback. But they are wasting this driver pairing. I still think this is the strongest driver pairing on the grid, even if the performance isn't there. They're just wasting it away. It's no longer just growing pains with Hamilton and the team. It's not just that anymore. You can't just say it's growing pains. They were challenging for wins last year. Their car was good. It's just gone away. Leclerc is sniffing podiums, but it's not enough, especially for the hype and the goals they had at the start of the year. Um, Everyone thought that they were gonna challenge McLaren every week, and they just haven't. Even the biggest doubters like me was like, Ferrari's gonna do it, and then they didn't. And I should have, stuck to what always happens, but um, they were fast here around Bahrain. Though. In fact, they were the second fastest in both team and so they were second fastest team over single lap pace behind Williams, and Leclerc and Hamilton were the second and third fastest in single lap pace behind Albon. So and again, that is only single lap pace, not race pace, but they have been fast. They've won here before. They know what to do. If there was ever time for Ferrari to get it together and pull out a podium, it would be here. Not saying they'll win, but I think a podium, and you'll and my co-hosts that aren't here all agree. Little sneak peek: everyone has Leclerc finishing third.
Well, so far.
Everyone
So
but you.
far.
um. So, and speaking of the fastest team over one lap pace around here, Williams needs to forget about Japan, focus on Bahrain. They've had a great start to the year, especially with Albon. But there were a ton of issues in Japan. And they really need signs to adjust to the car and keep up with Album, get more points on the board, and put climb up in the constructors. Um, they also need to figure out things with Albon. In my opinion, his anger on the radio in Japan felt like it was a culmination of years of issues. Because the things he was saying, he was like, "This happens every time. We always do this. We always mess this up." So it kind of feels like there maybe need to just someone they just need to talk it out. I don't think like Albon's got anger issues or anything, and I don't think like it's a big thing. But the things that he was saying was kind of like, it kind of felt like it was all building up, and he kind of let it all out. So they kind of Williams needs a good week weekend this time to refocus. And the Haas, like I said, was slow around Bahrain in testing, but I think they still feel good about their chances. Ocon probably just had an off week in Japan. He's been pretty good this year, and Behrman's really coming into his own, like we mentioned. So I think Haas, even though they were slow around Bahrain, are probably like, we were slow in testing. I think we can handle this during the race, though. I think we'll be fine. Alpine, who battled Haas last year for six and beat them for six, need to get back on the front foot. I know Gasly has it in him to do well if he has the car. I'm super confident in Gasly. He's won a race. He can do it. He's got it in him, but they don't have the car right now. I think part of the issue is the car. Now, it's not all the car. Part of the issue is the car, and the car being bad is also hindering Doohan's development, which is causing all sorts of other issues with him. That aren't his fault necessarily. It's not his fault that they're like, oh, we're gonna buy Colapinto's contract from Williams for $5 million, and then we're gonna have all these reserve drivers test against each other and not tell Doohan about it, but we're gonna leak it to the media anyway, which is a surefire sign that someone's getting replaced. And we're gonna do all this, this, and this, and we're not gonna really support Doohan in any way. And also our car is bad, which makes everything worse. And it's showing in the standings. They have 0 points. They're in dead last. And that's not going to be acceptable for Briatore and for the team who can do it.
They've been very close, many races, including when Gasly was supposed to get some points, but
yeah,
he also got DQ'd. So Gasly's been very close. He's got 11th a couple times, right on the edge of points, but just not able to push it over.
But he
Whether
but
that's
he
a
can
driver
do it.
problem or car problem, it's probably a car problem.
It's probably
They
a
need
car
to
problem
stuff
because
together.
he can do
If
well.
if Kick Sauber has points,
Exactly.
Alpine should have points. It has to be the
Exactly.
car.
Exactly. So I mean, Gasly in 2021 in the AlphaTauri at the time, he was finishing fifth and fourth so many times. Like he was he was the driver. I mean, aside from Verstappen and Hamilton, he was the best driver of the year that year. So he has it in him, and so it's on Alpine to give him the car and the ability to do it. Um, and the other two teams, because I try to write something about every team, Aston Martin and Sauber kind of feel like they're in holding patterns right now. They're not getting better. They're not really getting worse. They have some good performances and some bad, and it's not really driver dependent either. Hulkenberg had a really good performance in the first race, and then he hasn't in the last two. Bortoletto's kind of struggled, but he's a rookie, so we give him a little bit of a pass. Stroll had a great first two races, and then a bad race in China. Alonso had a bad first two races, and he did all right in China. So it's just like they're kind of just existing to me right now. And until there's some news about them, they'll probably continue to just kind of exist. But we will be watching Stroll because I still got faith in my Canadian boy.
Good. P20 Canadian boy right there, ready to disappoint yet again.
So that's the where are we? Bahrain,
Yeah.
Bahrain preview. Oh man! So now it's time we switch on over. Unless you got anything, if you got anything else to say, let it be known while I switch over to pick the podium.
I think I got everything out there. My hatred for Stroll was proven true. I hope it continues to be proven true.
This man is a
Uh,
Stroll hater.
and I would like to mention that the first week I was like, oh, there's 3 teams without any points. I wonder who were like the last without any points. You're like, oh, it won't be Alpine. And here we are, it's Alpine.
It
And
is.
I'm not super confident in this race either for them. But here's hoping Pierre can do something. Maybe Jack, after recovering from the injuries, will have a little bit more
Is he still in the
motivation.
car?
If he's on the car, I think he is. I want to give him a couple more races just to see what happens.
Yeah.
But it's
Give him
not
to the
looking very
summer
good.
break at least.
Yeah. Yeah, give him a little more time. And I mean, they'll give more time than Lawson at least. So
That's true. And now no matter what, when they switch him out, if they switch him out, they'll be like, hey, at least it wasn't like Lawson.
Yeah, he was the first one out, so you can't blame us too much.
Exactly. Somehow we don't look like the bad guy in this situation.
Yeah, I mean, Jack Doonell also hasn't really helped himself at all, as we've talked about previously.
Yeah. So we'll see. I got no problem with the guy. Apparently his dad is like a crazy motorcycle, like motocross racer who like almost lost his own life like twice or some shit like that. So apparently so he's from a breed of racers, like strong drivers. So we'll see what he can pull together. Um and who knows, maybe he'll end up on one of our podium predictions one day. He's
If
already
I
ended
haven't
up
got
on
somewhere,
yours.
if I haven't got somewhere, I don't know if anyone will, but we'll see. Maybe they'll convince me one day to put him up there.
Maybe. So, like I said, everyone except for you has Leclerc in third. But so Andrew has Norris, Verstappen, Leclerc, and believe it or not, totally separately, Sam texted me the exact same prediction. Nate has the McLaren fan here: Norris, Piastri, Leclerc. Leclerc, and then I have Piastri, Norris, Leclerc. One thing I've noticed about Piastri, especially this year, I mean, it's only been one time, but if he has a bad race or some weird shit happens to him, he wins the next race. He spun out in Australia in his home race, to the rain, and then he won the next race and screwed over in strategy in Japan. So maybe he'll win in Bahrain. That's my thinking.
Yeah, it seems like there's definitely a pattern to all your picks, all y'all's picks here. Basically,
Yeah.
the top three drivers plus Leclerc somewhere in there.
So I do have this. I've been keeping track of data like on how correct we are. We are really good at predicting. Last year, we were really good at predicting first and third. We were really bad at predicting second. Now Verstappen dominated the first half of the year, so that did skew the data a little bit. But Leclerc has the most. I think he has the most third place picks because he was finishing third a lot last year. So actually, let me see if I can pull this up. Um, Leclerc. Yeah, Leclerc's been picked to finish third place 22 times. The second driver was Hamilton with 17. So that is we've
Ferrari
got
in third.
faith. Yeah, we've got faith in Leclerc. Um, so let's hear it. Let it rip.
Let's go. Okay, so I think this week. Last week I was a kind of a Yuki hater. I picked all former Red Bull drivers.
Which was
That
very
didn't
funny,
work.
by the way.
It did not work at all. So we were hoping there. So third, you know what? I'm gonna give it to Yuki this year. This week,
Okay, okay,
Yuki
okay.
in third. He disappointed. Didn't really have a chance to shine. This time is gonna be the time. We talked about him a lot. This week, Oliver Behrman in second.
Okay.
I think
By
he's
the
gonna
way,
really
if
impress.
these two are correct, I will cry.
And for first, I'm gonna pick maybe the best F1 driver of all time. It's very contentious. I've heard. He goes by the name of Fernando.
Your mic peaked down. Oh, Lonzo.
Fernando Alonso is going to have a return to form. He will personally fix that car. I don't know how. He's going to figure it out. He's had
he
plenty of years to figure out how these cars work. He's going to do something to it.
he's so funny. Um, I'm gonna send you an image of him. It's a very popular image of him. They used to have grid girls, which were like cheerleaders, basically.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and there's a very good picture of Fernando with some grid girls. I sent it. I texted it to you.
Okay, here we go. Here we go. Oh my goodness, yeah, those are some good girls, and he was. I'm just so his head is as big as his
His,
entire torso.
I know his neck is huge. Um, when he was racing against Michael Schumacher, he like did a really risky pass on him, and someone asked him about it, and they're like, "Yo, Fernando, like what was up with that? That was a really risky move." And he was like, "Yeah." But I knew that Michael would break because he has a wife and kids at home.
You know what? I like that, and that's why I'm picking him
I've got
because he's.
another. I've got another one for you actually. The Fernando
he's
hype train. So he got third in Bahrain a few years ago, and everyone thought it was the resurgence of Aston Martin. It ended up not coming to fruition, but the Fernando hype train was very, very real. So
best
there's your
driver all
second.
time. Here we go. Oh yeah.
That's
Oh
the
yeah.
Fernando Chad image. If you know, you know.
That's what I like. I avoided picking him all these weeks because he's on a team of Stroll. Um, but ever since he said that Stroll is going to be, have a comeback, I'm like, you know what? No, the other Aston Martin driver is going to have a comeback. Fernando Alonso, greatest rookie of all time.
Amen, brother. My favorite
Let's go.
rookie, Fernando Alonso.
The
Oh
most
man.
experienced rookie of all time.
The
Breaking record. Just kidding. Everyone's getting nothing on Fernando.
So the reason that joke started was because he participated in like one of the off-season tests that was supposed to be for rookies only, but there was some loophole because he took like a few years off or something. There was some loophole that he was allowed to do it. So it's all these like 18-year-olds and Fernando. um
He's gotta get a feel for it again. He's been driving real lawnmowers instead of
He
F1
was
lawnmowers.
racing in Le Mans is what he was doing. um but they did this like rookie roundtable thing. It was actually really good. And Laura Winter, who is one of F1 TV's reporters, she was just talking to all the rookies. And they were like, what are you who do you like what's your guys' most exciting like rookie battle? Who are you looking forward like what other rookie are you looking forward to driving against? And Kimmy, without a hesitation, went Fernando. And she was like, no, I meant amongst the rookies. He goes, I know, Fernando. He's a rookie.
He's
Um,
doing
and
it
then
hard.
and then he was like, "Did you know that his first race was before I was even born?" And I'm sure Fernando heard that in like the universe and turned to dust.
He might turn to soon if you're not careful.
Yeah.
Just the G force is gonna. Yeah, you got strong neck, but if how old are you, like 43? I don't know if his neck can take it anymore, but
Yeah, he's
I think his
43.
neck can take it enough to win this race.
It's like he's just got to do it once. Just one more Fernando win number 34. It'll be perfect. Fernando win 34. You can already see the jokes writing themselves.
Yeah, well, it's almost his age, kind of.
Kind of.
He's the Tom Brady. He's got Tom Brady at one last ride.
Yeah,
And then
it's
Aston
a
Martin.
rule that Fernando Alonso must win his 34th race. Look up Fernando Alonso Rule 34 for more. It exists, by the way.
Oh, next thumbnail. That gives me a great idea. If
I
Fernando
just
Alonso wins the
remember that it gets
race,
posted to YouTube.
if Fernando Alonso wins this race, it might be interesting to watch.
We'll have a like a special edition of the thumbnail.
Yeah, it's gonna be a black screen.
I'll do A/B testing.
Okay, yeah. We'll see how people like the Fernando with the two. What do we call the girls?
Grid girls.
Good girls. Fernando with two good girls. The good girls
The
are
grid girls
Lance
are
Stroll
Andrew and
and
Sam.
the good girls are Andrew and Sam. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, that's gonna be it for F101. We'll be back next week. I don't know who's gonna be here next week, but we'll figure it out. So thank you for being here. I appreciate it. And that's that. Good night.
All right.